Osama Nazzal is a Palestinian affairs analyst and joins us live from Jenin, where those Israeli raids have been taking place and continue to take place. Osama, thank you very much for your time, first of all. Now, just days following the ceasefire between Hamas and Israel, what do you make of these latest raids and indeed arrests of Palestinians, including children, and yet more deaths?
Yeah, it is really regrettable as the situation in the occupied West Bank is getting more complicated and more difficult. Israel separated all the Palestinian cities and towns from one another, preventing the Palestinians' movement completely. And today it has started its military campaign against the city of Jenin and Jenin refugee camp. And it is expected that this campaign would extend to include all the region of Jenin and the north of this of West Bank, in line with the Israeli occupation government, a plan which is aimed to implement the ultimate deal, or the deal of the century, that Donald Trump declared in his first term in office, by keeping large areas of the West Bank as buffer zone, separating the Israeli colonial settlements from the Palestinian villages and the Palestinian towns. So we are talking about at least 30% of the occupied West Bank would be annexed by Israel. And I think the implementation of this colonial plan is starting with this military campaign against the Palestinian city of Jenin, because we know that most of the Palestinian resistance is concentrated in that region, and they try to crush now the Palestinian resistance in order to pave the way for more settlers and more settlements in the occupied land.
Osama, you mentioned US President Donald Trump there. He has now lifted sanctions on illegal settlers in the occupied territory. Could this be interpreted as a green light for settlers to carry out yet more attacks on Palestinians?
I think that when Donald Trump convinced the Israeli occupation prime minister to agree to the ceasefire deal in Gaza, he promised to compensate him by allowing him to do whatever he likes to the Palestinian people in the occupied West Bank, because we know that Israel was bombarding Gaza, but the Israeli eye is focused on the West Bank and Jerusalem, as Israel doesn't even recognize the right of the Palestinian people to exist in this part of the land. And they don't call it the West Bank. They call it Judah and Samaria. And we heard many statements from the different Israeli government officials talking about increasing the number of settlements, promising the Israeli settlers to bring another million settlers to live in the occupied West Bank. And this military aggression against the Palestinians in Jenin that would extend to other areas in the West Bank, I think, is the start of the implementation of Trump's deal of the century. So the issue here is not only Jenin and Jenin refugee camp, because when we talk about the resistance in Jenin, we are not talking about organized and well-armed groups. We are talking about a number of young men with light rifles, and even they don't have enough magazines or bullets. But the plan is very political, and it is part of the decisive plan that Smotrich announced years ago, which is aimed to end the situation in the West Bank by annexing more than 30% of it.
Osama, do you believe that the international community should and will indeed pile on more pressure on Israel to stop what's happening at the moment in the occupied West Bank?
As a Palestinian, it is difficult for me to believe in the international community, as we saw how Israel killed and injured 200,000 Palestinians in Gaza, razed almost all of Gaza to the ground, and we heard nothing from the international community but hollow and empty statements by hollow men and hollow international bodies. So the situation when it comes to the West Bank is not going to be different, but we hope that this time the Arab nation, the Muslim nation, and the pro-justice people everywhere will stand firm in the face of this campaign, take to the streets, demonstrate against the killing of the Palestinian people, the Palestinian civilians, the Palestinian innocent children in Jenin. As we saw today, they killed a man while he was giving a drive to his children from the kindergarten to his house in a nearby village called Berkin. They killed him while he was driving his children and his family. They killed other old men. We are talking until now about 9 martyrs, 9 people killed, and dozens injured, and they are in difficult condition. They injured today 3 medical doctors in Jenin. So they are applying the model of Gaza to Jenin, as they promised that they are going to make Jenin and Tul Karim second Gaza.
Osama, it is now at least 10 people killed and at least 40 injured. Thank you very much for talking to us here at TRT World. Osama Nazzal speaking to us live there from Jenin.
Thank you.